And he missed my whole little spiel there, but that's all right. He's probably heard it about, 50 other times. Yeah. So, Natalie or Zoe, would either of you like to kind of share, what this deal is, and then anything else as far as a check-in?
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Victoria.
Nice to
My
meet
name
you.
is Zoe, and I'm calling in from Brazil. I used to live in Korea for 7 years because my mom's Korean. And then I married a Brazilian man, and now I'm here. And he is actually currently with me. We are at a cafe. This is the first time I'm calling in weirdly like this. I'm usually at home in my office. But on our way home, we got caught in the rain and ran into a cafe. So sorry for the chaos. I hope it's not too loud. Good. Okay. Um, let's see. I think Rob just did such a good summary of what HSC has kind of evolved to become. And I could give you more of my personal story with HSC and how it very much is the value exchange, mutual aid, labor union for freelancers, all of what Rob described, especially because I came upon HSC in the midst of my career shift into becoming a freelancer online. And it was very lonely and very scary. And yeah, my entire network that I had in Korea was gone. So I was relying on the internet completely. And yeah, I ended up working with Rob for some clients already. And it's been a really amazing growth journey because Rob and the community have been there to help me navigate this career and navigate this industry, this online industry of isolated, siloed professionals. But being part of this group has really been helpful for me in so many ways. And now I can say that I have more clients than I am capable of working for. And the community, especially Rob, have helped me through skill shares and counseling sessions and all of that. So it's been really positive for me, and I can't wait to give back to the community through skill shares as well. And if anyone in the community needs private consultations for social media, which is what I do, yeah, I'm happy to be there as the community's been there for me. So I feel like my situation is a really nice HSC in action case study. And I don't have much of a blockchain or tech background. And I know a lot of other people in HSC are more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to tokenomics and stuff like that, which can be pretty complicated. But I'm excited that they're excited and they're willing to, experiment and play around with different tokenomics. And I'm kind of here for the ride. I'm more happy to give as much as I can and skill share as much as I am able and, contribute like that. And I'm happy to sort of be a fly on the wall to see what the tokenomic situation what evolves. Yeah. So what else? Yeah, I wish Newman were here. But I understand I've been getting sick a lot too. I guess it's the time of the year or something. And I hope everyone's feeling okay. And it's good to see your faces. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, I appreciate that. I know it's always been very helpful for me as well, and has really helped the continuing evolution of this community. So right back at you. Natalie, would you like to share?
Um, Not particularly. I'm a little unfocused at the moment. If that's okay, can I pass?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Passing is is passing is good. Um, okay, yeah. So that's, that's kind of like right in Natalie's, I think Natalie's share is a is just, is a good demonstration of part of the values that we have here, which is, that like, people can come and, participate, in whatever level, that works, best for them, whatever level, is generative. So, it's that's one of the things, we're trying to build, in addition to trying to build, sort of systems and processes, I think it's also really important to be building, the collaborative culture and, what does that mean? So that's kind of our intro. Yeah, Victoria, I'd love if you, would share just, a little bit about yourself. And then, I think you've been in this kind of search and journey as well. So like where the stops that you've been in and where kind of, if you feel like sharing your intentions, um, why you're here, why you showed up.
Okay. Well, thanks for welcoming me into the group. I have a long history of community building, and its roots are from my time as a work scholar at Esalen Institute in Big Sur. And I was exposed with a large number of human potential teachers and amazing human beings. And so because I was exposed to the way groups were done there, it set the tone for basically the direction of my life. I started my very first group I was living in Minnesota at the time. I've lived all over the United States. So I'm a very restless, very mobile person. And I like that. I enjoy it. It's kind of a nomadic energy that I carry. But anyway, I was living in Minnesota, started my first group. I was writing. I'm a writer. I had a 5-year-old and I was working full time. And I thought, there have to be some other people, other mothers out there that are trying to figure out how to make sure that they have writing in their lives. So I put an ad, because this is pre-internet, if they're hard to believe there ever was such a time. And I put one in the local Loft newsletter. The Loft is a phenomenal writing organization out of Minneapolis. And I had 40 phone calls within a few days. And I had people traveling over an hour to come to my house, and I started my first group. From that, I moved back to the East Coast, started another one, and that grew into over 10 groups, and it just kept expanding. And so that I was hooked. I started teaching after that. I started getting into personal development. And I also then got into coaching, because I got into coaching before coaching was even a thing. It's called personal coaching at that time. And I spoke to the woman that I was doing instruction and classes and things like that. I said, what if I meet with people one-on-one as a coach? And so she brought me in as a coach. She had a family coach, she had a legal coach. And so we were doing coaching before practically anyone was trained or certified. And it was an easy shift for me because it was similar to the way I was teaching. And again, Esalen gave me such a foundation for the how, in terms of how to run a group that was really cohesive. Mm-hmm. And then that has ultimately expanded and grown. I've done marketing communications on the side, mostly for nonprofits and small businesses. I did that for over 25 years. I'm not doing that now. I have coached writers. I've written a book and published a book on creativity. And every time I've gotten involved with any place, I've always done things to build community, hosted gatherings, worked with different people. I did massage therapy for a number of years, but wherever I was involved, I would typically want to gather people together. So there have been a lot of seeds of that. And I've always wanted to live in community, intentional community. Mm-hmm. The downside of that is that many bring their family of origin and ancestral wounding baggage with them, and then they try to work it out within the community. So unless there's something in place that mm-hmm. addresses that, it's very difficult to create a community. Plus, you need the systems. So talking about systems is a good thing. When I went to a conference, the conference I mentioned where I found out about GeoShip, They were doing things like, I don't know if you know about sociocracy. They were talking about sociocracy. And then when you do a conference and it's an open, what's that called? Where you open up space and then people just sign up to be doing things in those spaces. It's
Uh-huh.
instead of having a pre-designed conference, there's a name for it. It's something like open source, open table, but I was
Huh.
so impressed by that. And so I've been exposed to that. I've met a lot of people that are really well educated in things like sociocracy. And joined time banks before. I also have always wanted to do something called a gifting circle, where you gather a group of people and each person says what they need, and then people say what they have to offer. And then it's not really a bartering, because it's not direct barter to barter. It's like a time bank, where if
Yeah.
someone says, oh, my lawnmower just broke, and three people say, well, you can use my lawnmower. And then, it just ends up being a gifting circle. And what I've discovered is that you can solve any problem you have within a degree or two of a group of people. If you put 20 people in a room and everyone has something that they want that they can't get, they can get it usually within a degree or two of the people in that room. And
Yeah.
and so I facilitated what I call 6 degrees of networking, where I put 20 people together and have them solve issues that they have. And it's amazing. It's one of the most exciting types of events. And it's not like regular networking is so boring. You just exchange cards and you say, what do you do? This is solving things right in the moment. And then as the people are helping you, you're bonding with them and getting to know them. So that to me is that's a new paradigm of networking that I'd like to see more of. So yeah, I have lots of ideas. Community building is a really, really strong passion of mine. And the final thing I want to say is I've been a solopreneur primarily for decades. And I really need to make a shift to be I'd like to be part of humanitarian, solution-focused projects that are from a grassroots level, basically building this new paradigm, because I know we need it. The systems are falling apart, and it's continuing, and the economic system is probably on the verge of collapse as we sit here. The education system and the medical system are also toppling. Now, people are responding, and I'm part of something called the PHA, which is the People's Health Alliance, which is out of the UK. And they are basically putting the power of healthcare back into people, because people were waiting 40 hours to have an ambulance come. Because COVID just smashed that whole system. And so they set up a whole thing where they're teaching people how to do emergency response in the community. So people are getting trained as emergency responders so that they're not dependent on an ambulance.
Wow.
So I'm part of that, and the UK is very well developed, and the United States has their own organization that's very fledgling at this point. But I'm in Western New York near Buffalo, so I'm part of the northeastern area of people that are trying to put that together. So there are so many grassroots things, and what drew me to the holistic systems cooperative was, number one, the word holistic. Number two was the word cooperative. And I want to be part of something that is empowering, and that I have a lot to offer, and I also need certain things. So it just felt like it might be a good match for me, because I'm extremely passionate about the things that I value. And it sounded like a lot of the values resonated. So
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
And I
You're
also,
in.
let me just say one other thing. So I came out of the spiritual closet recently, after doing coaching for a number of years, all different kinds of business coaching, writing coaching, life coaching. I now call myself a spiritual mentor. I also do Akashic Records readings as well, which is a huge leap. But it's also something I've been on the spiritual path for over 4 decades, and I have a lot to offer in that realm. But that was a huge thing to come out of the closet, because I had basically kept that part of my life hidden.
Right.
So I'll stop now.
Yeah. Fascinating. Thank you. That was amazing. Yeah. I mean, there's
So
like
awesome.
so much.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot I could respond to. Before I do that, Zoe or Natalie, any, you know,
I'm going to have to drop out because
you already may have dropped out, and we get it.
I'm at 5%. You guys
Yeah.
are frozen. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It was so nice to meet you, Victoria.
Nice to meet you
And
too.
I wish I could have hung out with Natalie and Newman more. He's not here. And Rob, maybe I'll talk to you soon. Victoria, it sounds like your values are so perfect and you have so much to offer this community, and I'd love to hang out more. And
Okay.
I'm so sorry I have to hang up.
Okay.
That's okay, but we'll see you next week,
Great day.
and I'm sure we'll be in touch before, and we'll see you in next week, hopefully. Zoe, I said we'll see you next week,
next week
hopefully.
is the party. Yes, next week is the end of the year party.
That's
Thanks
correct.
for organizing it, you guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Yeah. So, Natalie, any thoughts? Okay. Yeah. So you know, thank you for sharing. It's kind of like a big wow, you know, because it's like everything you're saying and talking about, you know, seems incredibly in alignment, you know, with what we're trying to do, and especially, you know, and even the like where you really got to. First of all, I've spent some time at Esalen. I mean, not it doesn't sound like in the ways that you did, but you know, I had the you know, privilege to do that, you know, which is great. Esalen is amazing. And yeah, and so like, you know, that idea of like the gifting circle, right? And I mean, it's exactly what we're talking about here. You know, it's like this gifting circle, and what you're saying, you know, is like you could, but you know, I really love the like experience that you have, you know, with this, you know, not just because I think in a lot of ways, not that I don't have, you know, some, but in a lot of ways, you know, there's a theoretical aspect, you know, there's a model, you know, which is, you know, which we're trying to create, you know, and systems we're trying to create, but a lot of it is, you know, is theoretical, right? You know, something above and beyond this, you know, just like a networking, right? Like yeah, I've been in networking groups, and it's just, okay, yeah, you go and it's fine, and you get referrals and all of that. And I've also done, you know, a lot of, I just wrote this email and this, you know, like little blog article a few weeks ago about a value bank, right? And so that's kind of like this name that, you know, one of these names that we're giving it, you know, is a value bank. And it came from, you know, I was chatting about it with somebody, and they said, well, they're like, well, okay, so it's like a time bank. And I'm like, well, no, it's not really a time bank. It's a value bank. And I've done, you know, I've been in a time bank community around here, and it's, you know, it's great. I mean, I really, you know, I love the idea, but I have found that they don't get much traction, you know, as far as like being able to make, you know, really like, you know, make sort of systemic shifts. And you know, there's reasons for that, I think, you know, and but there, you know, there's a few things that I think, right, you know, that there's a lot of value that I think gets left on the table, you know, in both of those examples, right? And you know, so this, like the idea of this gifting circle, and you know, and creating that, I think that's what we found is like the core, right? You know, because when holistic systems launched, you know, you know, it was sort of launched in this like kind of full model form, you know, which is very ambitious. And then, you know, I learned, oh, that's like, can't quite start there, you know, and you know, and that model is that if you take a group of people and they work together and exchange value, you know, that at a certain point you can team up, and then you actually create like teams that can sell services, you know, to clients, but you're not doing that as an individual, you know, solopreneur anymore. You're doing that as part of a group, you know, so it's like, you know, I mean, an easy example is, right, like I do like email marketing and, you know, and some back-end tech systems. Zoe does social media marketing. We've worked together a lot. We could put together, you know, a service or a product, you know, and just say, hey, well, we're just gonna, you know, we can come in and we can do, you know, marketing for you. We've got these experts, and you know, but really we saw like, oh, it has to start, you know, with this foundation of people coming together and establishing trust. You know, and then really you know, the idea is how to, you know, so I have a question for you, because this came in, you know, so around the, you know, so the idea is like how to facilitate that and how to facilitate it in a way. So here's the question, you know, the gifting circle, it sounds so amazing. Is there a way where like those kind of circles were able to stick together, or did they kind of come together for a little bit and then kind of separate or dissipate?
Well, I didn't actually run those. I posted them and attempted to get them going through Meetup. Meetup would be a great platform, or it used to be. Meetup's not as good a platform now as it used to be. But that might be a way to do it, is to try to get the community involved through something like that. And you just have to really find ways to keep track of what's happening. When I joined time banks, and I also joined some other type of bartering online time bank, I ended up frustrated because there wasn't enough engagement. And so one of the reasons I like the 6 degrees of networking is that it's a one-off. You go, you do it, it's done. It's what it does, though, is it demonstrates what's possible. So you could take that whole thing and then try to create offshoots. If people were going to those regularly and they say, well, I want to live this way, I don't want to be, you know, because based on predictions I'm hearing, we, you know, particularly astrologically, we are moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And one of the things about that is that it's about cooperation versus cooperation and collaboration versus competition. And in many ways, they're talking, at least what I keep hearing, is that from the ground up, because people don't want to be part of the fiat system, which is the people I follow call it the fiat system. They don't want to be part of that system because it's so corrupt with taxation and debt and all of that other stuff. So people are talking about even alternative currencies again. So that goes back to our working with money state, which has a real excitement for me because it gets back to that purity of exchange. Now, I've been bartering for years and I find it to be amazing. We typically just do hour for hour. Even if I charge, like when I was doing massage, I might charge a significant amount, and then somebody who cleans my house doesn't charge that much. It didn't matter. I would do hour for hour because I respect that person's time. And so, yes, value to value, you could. I don't know how that works, but I like the idea of time as currency. And so if I'm giving you an hour and you give me an hour, we both, it's equal.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Right. You know, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you're coming at a really interesting time where there's, you know, these, you know, questions which have been here, you know, there's some, you know, answers popping in. I don't want to say answers like we've got the answer, but some more like some, you know, some answers about things we can try, you know, and things we can experiment. And I think that's what a lot of, you know, a lot of what we've been doing, especially in the last, you know, months, or just the last while, you know, we've just been like playing and exploring in this, right? And now we're, you know, and we're using different tools and different platforms to facilitate it, you know, and a lot of what the community has been doing, you know, is helping by, you know, jumping into these platforms and seeing what works and what doesn't. And I think, you know, for me, this aspect is like how can you create something, you know, that can facilitate this, that can be, you know, that can be an organism, you know, that can kind of stay, you know, like the organism itself, you know, can be an ongoing, you know, community, an ongoing organism that works. And doesn't, you know, have to rely on just like, you know, a certain group of people to then stay, it's something that if you, right, and we're in the hard, this is the hard part, right, is like getting it going, is getting the bank, right, like getting that pool, because we're talking about value exchange, it's also value sharing, it's resource sharing, right? So getting that pool of resources going, because the idea is if you have enough people and that starts to scale, and you have an effective way of exchanging value, right, which is just another way of saying a currency exchange. If you have an effective way of currency exchange, which is an alternate, we're talking about alternate currency. And so there's alternate currency, there's, as far as like on a large scale, there's also alternate currency just within, a particular ecosystem. That's a time bank, it's just using time as currency, and it's within a certain, ecosystem. So, but if you can do that, right, then one person, it's like there's this membrane, semi-permeable membrane kind of idea, but it's not my idea, but, it's this, where people can come in and out, but the organism, continues to function, and that pool continues to grow no matter what, to create the, with the idea of like having this network effect, and then if you get to this point where you have that network effect going, then, then you're really in business.
Well, what's interesting that I've found is that entrepreneurs, and one of the reasons being a solopreneur can be such a rough path to walk. I wouldn't have it any other way, and I don't like DIY everything. If you don't make a certain amount of income, you have to do everything yourself, and you're not going to be good at some of those things. You're going to do them poorly. Until you can scale to a level to bring in the experts, and that's part of the reason I've hit that ceiling where I can't grow unless I get help. And that sometimes simply means, for example, I'm looking into Facebook advertising, which I've avoided because there are parts of Facebook I don't really like. And if I could just say to someone, oh, great, if you set up some ads for me, because I don't particularly want to learn it, then I will, or that's something that they have in the bank. Great. I've got a Facebook ads person, or I have somebody who's really good at dealing with accounting for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because these are not strengths of mine. And so these drain the energy that I need to do the service that I'm good at all the time. And so this business model, and if you're a service professional, your business model is not sustainable. I used to teach business training classes, and I would out myself and say, well, you don't want to do what I'm doing. I run a service model profession. If I get sick, I don't get paid. If I take a vacation, I don't get paid. I said, this is not sustainable. Do not do this. The only way that you can be sustainable is to have passive income through products, or you have employees, neither of which I have. And I'm in the process of changing that, but going into 2024, because the clock is ticking, and eventually all of this is going to start to, be, as I get older, this is going to be an issue for me. So I see so many entrepreneurs that really can't grow because of this issue, because of the DIY burdens. And I came up with a business model a number of years ago where I thought wanted to create a pod where there were 8 business owners, mostly, let's say, healing practitioners, because they're the one. Business does not typically compute for a healing practitioner. So let's say 8 practitioners in a circle. In the center is one marketing professional, one web designer, one accountant, and maybe one other person, right? All of those experts, they make a percentage of the gross of all 8 of those businesses as part of their compensation for what they're doing. So they're incentivized to do really well for them.
Yeah.
And as that happens, then those practitioners then give them perks. In other words, you get a massage, you get some healing, you get this, you get that. And I've presented this to various places around the country, and I've had people, their jaws drop and go, oh my God, that could work. And it's also something that could be scalable and then imagine that this pod, these entrepreneurs get so successful that they get to that, whatever that ceiling is, then they can hire people, then they get launched, and then bring in this other.
Yeah.
So I've had this vision because doing it yourself as an entrepreneur does not work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like my words are coming out of your mouth. It's it's exactly it, and I love it. And it's not the first time that has happened in a conversation, right? And I have had this vision too, and other people, right? It's like the more we go, the more people I talk to have this vision, right? I have this vision. And holistic systems is it's not my vision. I didn't invent freaking collaboration. Um, it's just it's coming through, and I think it's just coming through more people. So it's coming through me, and the idea, right? So like holistic systems, it's something that we're working on, something we're developing, right? And I do want to say, like, it isn't it's different than this old model of entrepreneurship, where it's like, well, my business has to be successful, it has to be right, or I'm screwed. It's really this way of like, okay, it doesn't have to be holistic system. The idea is we're trying to create something, we're trying to create a model. If it's called holistic systems, that's fine. If it's called Annette, that's fine. If somebody else is the co-founder of it, great. If you're right, if you come in and it changes the name, so it doesn't, so that's just one thing, to say, like, it's not that, like, and that's something I continue to do, is talk to people and say, okay, who's done this thing, who's done this, who's doing it now, like, I'll just jump on in. And it's hard, right? Because of the reason that, so I come from the health and wellness field as well. So I was in that field for about 15 years and was working for a while as a, intuitive, wellness coach. And, at a certain point, something shifted, and I started to, the divine pointed me, somewhere just a little, on a different course to support, some of these, helpers and healers that I was working with. And so I started to do that, right? And holistic systems came directly out of that, because I'm like, these are amazing, like, gifted healers, and it's just so difficult for them to have businesses, that are like that, where they make enough money and that's sustainable.
Right.
Just beyond, right? Beyond just like, okay, I see this amount of clients, a week, right? To go beyond that, to have these, these businesses, right? To be, to go into that pool with all the other healers. And it's exactly as you say, right? Because there's so many different skill sets that you have to have, right?
And there's burnout too. We're not even talking about burnout. If I do a certain number of client appointments per week, and as you know, it takes energy. Doing these readings, it actually takes more energy than coaching. And
oh yeah,
I'll look at my week and say, because I've only been doing that for a couple of years now, and I look at my week and say, yeah, I can try to hustle and get more one-on-one bookings, but I'm saying, but I don't want to.
yeah.
So I just took Lee Harris's Grow With Your Business. I don't know if you've heard of Lee Harris, but he's a phenomenal healer. And he did this Grow Your Business because it's specifically for healers, but he started he charged $15 an hour for intuitive readings, and then grew to the point where he was charging $1,000 an hour. And his wait list was months out and so on. So he started to scale, and how he first started to scale was he went onto YouTube and did a monthly energy report, which he was receiving, he also does channeling, and he's got 300,000 subscribers now. So that was the thing that took him into being able to now have 23 employees. So his whole class that he taught takes you behind the scenes of a business like his, and he talks about all the stuff he learned along the way. And it's fascinating because it's rare, I think, for somebody to go from where he started to where he is. Not very many people have what it takes. And he did have a partnership that failed miserably. I mean, a lot of us have some scars and bruises from things that really didn't work at all.
Yeah.
But this is no way to do business, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not thriving and I'm not flourishing as an entrepreneur. And I keep asking myself why. And sometimes it's so hard to be it's so difficult to tell the truth and not be in denial. It's like, well, I love it. It's good. It's work. It's not working. And yes, I could plod along doing this and add some side work. It's just not fulfilling to do it. There's burnout in my future if I keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you 1,000,000%. And I think that's just the reality of our system. That's the reality of our system. And especially specifically, for healers, helpers, coaches, there's this kind of like business, we're learning about business model. There's, kind of this, I don't know what to call it, but there's a something, a dynamic or a way that things work, right? So when you're looking at a business model, and there's need, right? Like in a business model in a market economy, right? And so, there's need, right? So I was talking to people, about healers, and it's like, well, yeah, there's so much, like I kept sort of using that term, is there need for this? Yeah, of course. I mean, go around every corner, on every block, there's massive need, for healers and wellness practitioners. But what I learned is in this market economy, there's a difference between need and demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that was very sort of an insightful kind of moment, right? Because everybody needs it, but is there market demand? Meaning, are people willing? What is the demand? What are people willing to pay for it? And that demand, is much lower, than the need. Meaning, like people have, pay for, have to pay for lots of other things, and right. And there's something about, healing and wellness where, it's not instant, right? You have to really.
Well, the need for healing is growing every day. And the other thing that's really interesting that, go ahead.
Yeah, Natalie.
If you want to finish your thought, Victoria, that's fine. It's all been very interesting.
Yeah, and I know the two of you need to talk about something, and I have to jump off because I've got something I'm doing soon. I'll just finish my thought and then maybe leave it to you guys. What was I going to say? Oh, so the one thing that might appeal, and it's just something for you to think about, maybe maybe we could have future conversations. The business model that seems potentially worthwhile when it comes to working with healing practitioners and providing them a service would be the membership model. And it's sort of the one to many. So large audience, small fee, they can afford it. But then you have, perhaps, like I was saying, you have these little centers of expertise that save me so much time that I would give you more for the membership because I'm so happy. So
yeah,
I just want to say that I'm looking into doing a membership model because it's a way to bundle things that's really not difficult. It gives people what they need, and it can always evolve and grow. So keep that in mind,
yeah,
Rob, as something to maybe integrate in that would sustain itself through the income that's coming in, but also maybe meet the needs of some of these practitioners, because I know I would join one in a red hot minute if I felt like I could get the support I need. And I would not, in the monthly, we just write off the cost as a business expense, which is lovely. So
yeah.
So all right,
Well, let's talk more about that.
Yeah, I think I'll step out so that the two of you can talk about next week or whatever else you need to talk about, because I've had plenty of airtime. So
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Victoria, for speaking. All the things that you're bringing up are validating a lot of my experience. I'm a retired massage therapist, and now walking into like looking for that new way of interacting with community. And at the beginning of this call, I received like news from, I'm working with peer-to-peer learning group, and it's so quickly like coordinating people, and it can be so disappointing so soon when working with groups of people. So figuring out, these kind of systems that you're mentioning so that momentum isn't lost is key, and that awareness of yeah, focusing on something you're good at and having support in the areas so that you're not drained. And then yeah, also the idea of being able to nurture things in a way of comfort, so as I age it becomes like I can step into my place of expertise, yeah, and not have to feel like I'm doing everything. So yeah, really thoughtful, really mindful, and I'm really glad you're here. So
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I look forward to getting to know you more, Natalie, over time. So I will definitely be back, and thank you for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm inspired and excited. So
yay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Me too. Me too. And excited to see you again on Friday, and we can,
yes,
talk
I
about
will
it
see you
more on the-
Friday again, Rob. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Yeah,
Bye.
I should probably get going too. We can always, if you have any pressing thoughts on planning next week, or maybe we can just have another meeting sometime later this week.
Yeah.
If Newman's feeling better. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, that seems, that feels light as far as, having a little meeting later next week.
Or next week, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Or and this week. Yeah. I think that's fine. I don't think that, there necessarily like has to be tons of planning, but I think it would be nice to, for us to kind of go over, have a little bit of a plan. And then, and then I can also then, if there's anything to then share with folks beforehand, I can write it in the, in the email for next Monday as well. So I don't think there's anything necessarily just pressing, just, but it would be great to, yeah, have a little meeting and, just
Okay.
talk about it.
Yeah, I can even pre-prep a doc and share that with you guys. But yeah, I need to focus on some other things at the moment. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I might just dip out if that's cool with you.
Totally. I'm gonna just pause because